anything that might be bothering you, that might be causing you to think, I wonder how this is going to go. I wonder what I'm going to have to do at this point, right? I encourage them, not because I'm negative, but actually because I'm a realist, right? Is deal with the worst case scenario, the WCS.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
All right, folks, welcome to another Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. I am the Appraiser Coach. This is another minisode. I want to share with you an idea, a thought that I've used in some private coaching, even recently, and just an idea to help you, I guess, to sleep a little better at night. First, want to pause, remind you that we are sponsored by a company which will also help you sleep a little better at night, and that, of course, is Synapse. Why does it help you sleep better at night? Well, because you get to support your adjustments, folks, not just make them, but support them. Find out more going to spark4appraisers.com. That's spark, F-O-R, appraisers.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. I had a recent experience that it reminded me of an analogy that I have used in the past. And because of this most recent experience, I've used this analogy again recently with some of my coaching students. And it's one that I think will just allow you to be able to have a little bit more peace of mind. And it looks like this. My wife and I love Hawaii. We've been now 4 or 5 times. I'll be honest with you, I love exploring new areas. I love exploring new parts of the world. We've been to Europe a couple of times, Australia, South America, Central America, lots of cool places that we have been. Most of the time when I go to a place, I think to myself, you know what? Been there, done that, right? I really enjoyed this trip. I really enjoyed what it gave me. I've learned a lot. This has been great, but next time I would rather go somewhere else. Right? Once in a while, a place comes up that I'm like, dude, I could totally go back to this place. Right? Hawaii, from the very beginning, was like that. I went there for the first time for our 10-year anniversary, and it was an absolute fabulous time. We really enjoyed it. And I remember saying to my wife, I think on the plane ride home, I absolutely could come back to this place over and over and over again. And though we can't afford to go as often as I would like, we do try to get there as frequently as possible. Most recently, we went to the Big Island. I've never been to the Big Island. We've been to Oahu twice, Kauai twice, Maui once, never been to the Big Island, and thought, you know what, let's go. Specifically, the volcano was erupting. We did not know that when we booked the trip, but it was a nice bonus. And it was just a fun time had by all. It truly was an amazing experience. My wife and I celebrated our anniversary there. It was just her and I. We spent about 9 days there. It was absolutely beautiful, wonderful. I can't say enough about it. It was a wonderful trip. One of the things that we did was to spend a whole lot of money on something that some would say is frivolous. And I was honestly questioning it. When I booked it, I was questioning it. When we decided to move forward with it, I was questioning it up until the time that we were actually doing it. And that is a helicopter tour. It was super expensive. We went with Blue Hawaii helicopters. And until the moment that we lifted off the ground, I questioned whether or not this was worth the money. Folks, I am telling you, it was an experience I will never forget. I honestly, and I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm very active. I love the outdoors. We do snow machining and dirt biking and you name it, right? I don't think I've ever done something that I enjoyed as much as being in that helicopter. It was absolutely thrilling from start to finish. I wish it didn't have to end. We took the longer tour, the 2-hour tour. And after 2 hours, I was like, can we do another 2 hours? It was absolutely incredible. It was fun. Okay. Long story short, as we are flying, I notice the pilot doing, what pilots do, right? Pilots are always looking for places to land. They're always looking for contingencies, right? Now, my experience in the past is the first time I've ever been in a helicopter, but my experience in the past has been with fixed wing aircraft. And though most of my fixed wing aircraft experience has been in coach, right, behind the door, as they say, I've had a few times to be in a private plane, and I've talked to some of my pilot friends. And years ago, I actually wanted to get my pilot's license. So I did part of my ground school. And one of the things that you learn in ground school is that you're always looking for a place to land. You're always looking out the window, looking at your maps, what have you, knowing what your options are. Now, you might have the flight plan to go from point A to point B, but you always know that there's a chance you're not going to make it to point B. There's always a chance that you're going to have to land at point Y or point K or point L or whatever the case may be. And you're always planning on that. If the engine failed right now, what would I do? Where would I land? Now, one of the things I learned about a helicopter that I did not know before, I figured that if the power went out, if you're at 2,000 feet and your engine stops, you're screwed. Right? You're going to plummet to the ground. Now, those of you who know a little bit about helicopters know more than I knew about helicopters. That's not actually true. And I had a nice talk with a pilot, and the pilot informed me that no, what happens is your rotors will go backward, and it will slow you're gonna drop, but it's going to slow your descent. And if you are a good pilot and you've done, your homework and you know what you're doing, you can actually glide to a stop somewhere. And the nice thing about helicopters, one of the things that the pilot told me was the thing he likes about helicopters is he thinks they're actually safer than fixed winged aircraft, because if your power does go out, with a plane, you've always got to be moving forward, right? Meaning if you're not within reasonable distance of a space to land, which is, takes a lot of real estate, you could be in trouble. And that's when things get really, really hairy. With regard to a helicopter, he said, you can land almost anywhere. There's very few places that you can't land, including on the ocean, on water. That he's got, the rafts or whatever you call. I'm sure there's an official name on the skids that will actually expand, blow up, and actually keep you afloat. And so he says, I feel safer in a helicopter than anywhere because I know that if my power goes out, I can land this thing. So I'm going to bring it home, I promise. But first, I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a great company called Synapse. Synapse is a great contingency plan, right? It's not only a contingency plan, it's your primary plan, right? Why is it that you make that adjustment? Is it because it works? Is it because it fits? Is it because it just feels right? Folks, I'm telling you, none of those descriptions are going to help you when you're before the state board or even explaining it to a client, right? Have you ever had a client come back and say, hey, where did you get that adjustment from? And you're like, oh, shoot, where did I get that adjustment from? Well, folks, with Synapse, you'll be able to answer that question very, very quickly. Find out more by going to their website. It's Synapse, and you can find it at www.spark4appraisers.com. Again, Synapse, it's spark4appraisers.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. My name is Dustin Harris. We're hanging out here doing a quick mini-sode. I want to bring this home. I've been telling a story about pilots and how they're always looking for alternative places to land. Hopefully you can kind of do the analogy on your own, but if not, let me bring it home for you. Folks, as business owners, we are hit with all kinds of things. One of the things that I do often in my coaching program, when people bring to me problems, I say to them, what is the WCS? And those that have been with me long enough know, what the terminology is. If they're a new coaching client, I'll go in and describe it. The WCS stands for the worst case scenario. Okay. What is the worst case scenario? If you were to lose power, or if you were to lose a major client, if you were to get a bad review on Google, if you were fill in the blank, anything that might be bothering you, that might be causing you to think, I wonder how this is going to go. I wonder what I'm going to have to do at this point. right? I encourage them, not because I'm negative, but actually because I'm a realist, right? Is deal with the worst case scenario, the WCS. Can you come up with a contingency plan? Can you find another place to land? Right? What is your WCS? I did this recently with a coaching client of mine who was dealing with a situation with low volume, right? And he's looking at his monthly nut, which is, what is it going to take to continue to keep you in business moving forward? And he's getting a little bit worried and saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet my monthly nut next month or the month after. And if things don't increase, I'm going to have to do some drastic things. And I say, okay, great. Let's step back. Now that we know that, let's step back and look at what that means. Let's decide that thing happens, right? That you go 3 months and you're able to, you're burning through your savings. You're, fill in the blank. Whatever you're worried about, paint that picture, and then ask yourself, what is the WCS, or what is the worst case scenario? Once you answer that question, folks, you can fly with ease, right? Your goal is to get from point A to point B, whatever that is. I often talk about the vision story, often talk about the cinder cone, often talk about the thing that you're looking toward, right? What is the thing that you're moving toward? But in the meantime, you're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way. You're going to have some times you're going to have to take some contingencies, right? You're going to have to look down and say, okay, if my power were to be cut right now, where could I land? And there's times, honestly, that you have to make those emergency landings. Mayday, 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 and you've got to find a place to land. Folks, I hope this analogy helps you as you deal with the market that we're in, right? We've got some slow times. It can be scary. I promise it's coming back. It is. I promise it is. In the meantime, you might have to find a place to land. You might have to find some contingency plans. I promise you there are answers to those questions. Thank you for joining me today, folks. I hope it's been helpful to you, and we'll see you next time. Go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.